Hello everybody! Thank you for waiting! お待たせいたしました。続きましては、アダムバックビットコイン基盤システムと題してセッションをお届けいたします。Our next session is titled Adam Back, the Bitcoin Operating System. 早速スピーカーの方をご紹介しましょう。Please let me introduce Mr. Adam Back from Blockstream. Give it up, please. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk about the future of finance and using Bitcoin rails and technology to do that. So I think there are a number of changes in the financial system, applying pressure to existing technologies. So money is becoming more mobile, borderless, and currencies are getting more fragmented. Distribution channels are evolving. There are high margin asset management products, and the legal and technical frameworks of the current system are dated and showing their age. So at Blockstream, we see Bitcoin not only as an emerging store of value, an asset class, but it's also a platform that can meet and improve on the current financial system network mechanisms. So we think about this as a layered approach. So with in the US, there are nearly 30 billion in issuance needs, which are taking 5 to 10 days to settle, and 1 to 3 weeks to trade. So you can see there's a lot of slow things going on with the existing rails. And in Switzerland, a regulated issuance can take 3 to 6 months or 9 to 18 months for an IPO. And the regulation environment is catching up and becoming, supporting more efficient technologies. So 10 years ago, the market cap of Bitcoin was 3.4 billion, and today it's more like 2.4 trillion. So you can see that the Bitcoin ecosystem itself is getting adopted by more and more of the financial ecosystem as an asset, and so we're here to talk about that being the case for the technology as well. So there are more capabilities intrinsic to Bitcoin than most people realize. It's not just money. It also functions as a full stack operating system for moving value. And so the architecture I'm showing here is the Bitcoin itself as the base layer, Liquid as a financial layer for issuing assets, transferring assets, trade settlement, all kinds of different kinds of assets, whether that's stable coins or securities or derivatives, bonds, debt instruments, and then Lightning as the payments layer, because Lightning is a sort of retail payment compatible piece of technology. So the Bitcoin layer provides the secure custody, and it's the most secure way to store Bitcoin long term. Now, with Liquid as a layer 2, you're able to issue securities, and Liquid is a Bitcoin layer 2, so the fees are in Bitcoin. It's using robust Bitcoin-related technology. It adds confidentiality for commercial purposes, and it gives you a way to settle and transact financial instruments as well. It gives an environment to issue real-world assets, and there are about 4 billion of real-world assets on Liquid, and these are things with investors who are using the technology where the investment needed the technology. It's in some environments people are claiming TVLs, but they're just wrapping an existing asset that doesn't change hands. The TVL on Liquid is all kind of organic and actual user use cases. for small businesses, for traders, for investors. Our role at Blockstream is that we've been building the infrastructure for the modern financial system using Bitcoin Rails for the past decade. And our role has always been to support and enable transformation to provide both the systems that make Bitcoin the backbone of a better financial system and the secure way to store value. Our work is being adopted. So I mentioned the TVL now exceeds 4 billion. And the different parts of the hardware ecosystem are getting wider adoption between Blockstream app, which is a Bitcoin wallet, and a Liquid wallet, which also integrates some Lightning payment capability, and Jade hardware wallet, so a hardware wallet that supports both Bitcoin and Liquid. And in the next phase, Blockstream is working on and releasing the application layer that unlocks the future potential. So Blockstream enables businesses to safely, securely, and efficiently custody, use Bitcoin and tokenized assets. These products fall within 3 product lines, constructed with the ethos of Bitcoin for security, efficiency, and reduction in counterparty risk. So prime brokerage, so that's our enterprise custody solutions for Bitcoin and real-world assets. There you have a policy engine and on-premise HSMs, so for high-value storage. And next use case is asset management, so tokenization for real-world assets. And you can see those, many of those are part of the 4 billion on the Liquid network today, which has global distribution and manages the full life cycle of the assets between issuance and transfer and redemption and dividends, and issuing more issues of more sales of later stage investments in the same security, all of the usual kind of features and life cycle there. So going a bit further into custody. So we're using multi-sig custody for enterprise solutions that companies can hold Bitcoin and tokenized assets in a secure and robust way. So it's the same core technology that the Bitcoin chain is used for cold storage and high-value transactions for many years. There's something to be said in technology involving security and cryptography for using simple and robust technology. And the innovation is that you can trust and rely on it. That's the point. So despite using simple and robust storage, it has flexibility and configurability for high throughput, high security, and flexibility where necessary. Because it's about custody, many custodians aim to segregate accounts, so they're holding assets on behalf of different clients, different custody clients. So they need to segregate the accounts so that the storage of Bitcoin on behalf of different custody clients are held separately in a legal sense and in a technical sense, and also enforce spending rules that protect the users. So with the ECS policy engine, you can do all of these things and distribute responsibilities within the custody management company so that multiple staff are necessary to effect transactions with high value. So now the Bitcoin network is known, it's the first blockchain, and it's had smart contracting with a simple and robust scripting system, but it does have some limitations. And so at Blockstream, we've been working for the last 8 years on a more flexible system for Bitcoin, which is now live on Liquid, Bitcoin Layer 2. And this is called Simplicity, and it enables you to provide a bit more programmability, but in a security-focused way, so that you can continue to rely on the Bitcoin-like high assurances. And Simplicity is using formal semantics so that you can prove security properties of your program. So if you are making a program for an option, you can prove, sort of mathematically prove that the only way the option can get exercised is if this condition happens and there's no other way to take the funds out of it, for example. So it gives you much more predictability and assurance about contracts, and it does so in a functional programming way that's very consistent with Bitcoin's model, Bitcoin's UTXO model. So it shows that that's, you can do a lot of things with the UTXO model with some extensibility from Simplicity. So that's, this extra building block of having the Simplicity smart contracting system is how we move the Bitcoin operating system and the Bitcoin layers from custody to also handle use cases with different types of financial instrument and contract execution. So I didn't talk too much about this earlier, but you can also provide other instances of Liquid. So Liquid is both an open source technology and hardware components, HSMs, hardware wallets, block explorers, and it's possible to stand up new networks for specific use cases. So if there are a set of enterprises globally who are doing high-value block trades in a given set of asset classes, and they want to have a separate network, that's very possible with Liquid. And using that, they can, set some rules about their assets, decide their own policies, and cover whatever legal and regulatory concerns they have that make them want to do it in a more sort of less open public network, let's say. So it might still be transparent, auditable, and be able to look at it with a blockchain, look at it with a block explorer, but perhaps the people that can transact these types of assets are limited to the members of the consortium or something like that. Now you can do some of those things on Liquid too. You can use the Blockstream AMP to also apply policies on the open Liquid network, and there are certainly a number of interesting assets that have been issued on Liquid, like shares in treasury stocks such as MicroStrategy, where you as a user have to enroll to be able to trade those, but once you've enrolled you can use them, you can look at them in a block explorer, you can transact them with an open source wallet or with a hardware wallet, and so forth. So you can see you have a choice between having extra, financial assets with extra rules applied to them and have that enforced on an open network, or do so on, an enterprise network. So both models are possible. So you can also network these sort of more industry-specific sidechains and connect them to Liquid sidechains, so you can sort of, in the same way that you can move Bitcoin from the Bitcoin chain to a sidechain, you can also move value between sidechains to on and off of Liquid with a peg. So it becomes possible to have sort of internetworking of value in that way. While preserving the security properties. So a major part of Bitcoin's appreciation has been enterprise and institutional holdings. It now accounts for about 10% of total Bitcoin. So this is spread across different forms of custody, whether that is the institutional component of the ETFs, which I think is about 30% of the ETF value, the other 70% being retail, basically, and custody outside the ETFs in custodians, such as the enterprise custody technology example I gave. There are a number of custodians that will directly custody Bitcoin for enterprises, for public treasury companies. They're all using custodians typically, and the ETFs themselves may be using a custodian typically. So in any case, this sort of new segment of demand for Bitcoin is part of the ongoing adoption of Bitcoin. Of course, it's primarily held by individuals and users and valued for its self-sovereignty, which is great, but companies and institutions are also getting interested in the asset class, and ultimately a lot of their interest stems from being able to provide Bitcoin products and services to their clients, whether their clients are enterprises or individuals. And as you can see, example with the ETF, 70% of that's actually retail of various kinds, just different segments of the retail market. So we argue that companies that capitalize on the Bitcoin integration into the financial system, into financial companies first, will reap the benefits from the improved financial technology that comes along with Bitcoin. So the ability to move financial assets on robust and dependable Bitcoin-related rails, so that the assets like the treasury company shares, like Bitcoin in custody, like settlement of financial instruments, and ultimately all kinds of financial instruments can happen using the same technology. But the way that it starts to get deployed, I think, is starting from Bitcoin custody, Bitcoin-related shares that are kind of crossover assets, and take it from there. And of course, that also has a natural growth because the asset is undergoing adoption. So anybody in this line of business is having a growth from the asset as well as growing users. So that's it. That's the end of my talk. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Beck, could you please come into the middle of the stage so we can get a quick photo with our official photographer? Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, a round of applause, please. ありがとうございました。